the College of Medicine Student Progress and Promotions Committee selected Matthew Thorpe as this year's class valedictorian because of his superior performance throughout all 4 years of medical education. Matt will now present remarks from the graduating class, as well as a special tribute from the class to Carla Vanderveer. Please consult pages 16 and 17 in your program for additional information about Carla. Matt.
One of my favorite clinical rotations was psychiatry. This probably sounds odd coming from a future radiologist, but I suppose both specialties butter their bread by looking into a human being and trying to figure out what's going on. I especially enjoyed thinking about defense mechanisms, the tools we use, usually subconsciously, to manage things that cause us internal turmoil. There are innumerable ways we defend ourselves against psychological stress, but there are a few very well-defined common defense mechanisms that we all had to learn for our board exams. The most basic example familiar to all of us who have spent time with children is acting out, or basically throwing a tantrum. Of course, we know that adults throw tantrums too, and during our time in medical school, we may have even known a physician or two to act out. The defense mechanism I'd like to consider today is known as splitting. The idea that someone with an unstable sense of self might view others as being either all good or all bad. This black and white thinking leads them to place a person on a pedestal so long as their needs are being met. But when reality falls short of expectations, the same person is wicked, despicable, fallen. There is no middle ground. We see one example of splitting in our culture in the world of superheroes. The story is universal. It starts with a character who is weak, meek, powerless in some way, like the bullied Peter Parker or the orphaned Bruce Wayne. Even Superman begins as an infant, depending upon his adoptive parents for nurturance. Power is attained through some miraculous accident, but simultaneously through the same or some coincidental miracle. Power is also conferred on an antagonist. Once superhuman powers have been achieved, there is no middle ground. These characters become either superheroes or supervillains. They protect or they destroy, for our storytellers do not allow superpowers to simply exist quietly. What is it that splits the heroes from the villains? The power is often the same. The characters' backstories are often so similar as to be effectively indistinguishable. We could say it is simply a desire to do good or to do evil, but the motivations are seldom so simplistic. Often the villain is working toward some ostensibly noble end of a better society, and often the hero's story begins with a quest for revenge. Perhaps what divides the two is less about their end game as it is about their attitude. The villain sets himself up as the authority, the philosopher king, the one who knows best and the one who must be obeyed or there will be consequences. The hero takes a more humble role, that of the servant. The hero does not seek to interfere with the lives of the powerless. He defends their more mundane lives and their ability to choose their own way. The hero prioritizes his own needs and desires beneath those he serves, while the villain places himself above. Doctors, today is the day that society imbues us with superhuman powers. They do this because they cannot cope rationally with the fact that their lives are marching toward an inevitable death. They fear it, they wish to avoid it, and they wish to avoid thinking about it, and they comfort themselves with the belief that there is a superhero in a white coat who can save them. This is a heavy burden. We know so much, but we can never know enough. We do a lot, but there are some things that we can never do. Still, we will not be fallen heroes simply for falling short of the inhuman expectation that we defy death. The analysts tell us that true medical error is responsible for only a minority of medical malpractice lawsuits. The more common reasons for a physician to fall from grace are once again those of attitude. He was condescending. She didn't communicate with me. He was unsympathetic. My mother-in-law once asked my wife after a bad session with her own physician, "When does Matthew take the class that teaches him the air of superiority?" What is it that turns a physician from a hero to a villain? It is not medical failure. After all, we never heard of a lawsuit against Iron Man for not saving more people or for excessive collateral damage. What makes villains is pride. Beginning today, people will start calling us doctor. Strangers will behave deferentially. Staff will fuss over us. Nurses will be expected to spend their own invaluable time arranging and rearranging a room simply so that we are more comfortable. Corporate representatives will tell us how clever we are, and patients will tell us how we saved their grandmother and they can't thank us enough. People will flatter us from every angle, but do not inhale this poison. Do not touch this kryptonite. If you decide that you matter more than another soul, if you believe that you are wise about the world because you are wise about your trade, if you set yourself up as a ruler in this world rather than as a servant, you will have lost the game. Your interaction with your patients will be tainted. You will lose the trust they placed in you, because although they can tolerate your human weakness, they will not tolerate your arrogance. You will be, for all your noble aspirations, a villain because you used the power society gave you to set yourself above another. Graduates, today is a day for our parents, our families, our friends to be proud. But today, for us, it must be a day of humility. For us, it is a day to recognize that we are nothing if not for the people we help, and no amount of money or prestige can change that. Today is a day to commit to a life of humble service, because this is the only kind of life worthy of the great trust society places in us. May we always be humble and worthy of that trust. Thank you.